Yemeni government urges international community to support with debts. Citizens in Adala celebrate Eid despite hard living conditions. Messam project says landmines clearance witnesses significant progress. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Roshan Fuad. Yemen's Prime Minister has requested foreign aid to help lower the country's financial burden, claiming that such assistance will help a budding peace process. This report has more details.
Yemen's Prime Minister has requested foreign assistance to reduce the country's debt burden, stating that such support will contribute to an emerging peace process. At the Chatham House think tank's London Conference 2023, Ma'in Said stated that Yemen needs some patience from international funding mechanisms. Yemen has been at war since Iran backed Houthi rebels to control of the capital Sana'a in 2014. The next year, a Saudi-led coalition intervened on behalf of the internationally recognized government. In 2020, the COVID-19 outbreak dealt the country yet another blow. The outbreak of the Ukraine war in February 2022, however, had a much harsher effect on the nation's food supplies, according to Mr. Said.
Following the Russian war on Ukraine, it was one of the big shocks for the government. 90% of our imports of wheat came from outside. 50% of it came from Russia and Ukraine. We don't have fiscal capabilities to deal with the prices. Nobody wants to deal with country in a danger, banking system, private sector.
The government's public expenditure has decreased as a result of the state budget's 80% deficit. Officials are presently negotiating direct assistance injections with the World Bank and the Arab Monetary Fund. Mr. Said stated that the private sector has also helped sustain the economy. The UN estimated that by the end of 2022, the conflict in Yemen had caused more than 377,000 deaths, with 60% of this figure as a result of hunger, unsafe water, and a lack of health care. More than two-thirds of the population live in poverty, according to the UN, including government employees in Houthi-controlled areas who have not been paid in years.
Citizens found the body of a child brutally killed a week after he was kidnapped by Houthi elements. Local sources said that the child Bassam Hassan was found in the city of Saada after he was killed and brutally tortured. According to the sources, the body showed signs of severe torture to which it was subjected during the period of his abduction, in addition to pouring acid on his face. The Houthi militia launched a surprise bombing targeting the camps for the displaced west of Taiz. Local sources stated that the Houthi militia targeted with mortar shells the camps for the displaced in Wadi al-Hanaya, west of Taiz. The sources confirmed that 2 mortar shells landed near the homes of the displaced, which caused fear and panic among the people, especially women and children. The forces stationed on the Thara front targeted sniper sites of the Houthi militia in Uriel, located between the governorates of Al-Bayda and Abyan. Field military sources stated that clashes renewed between members of the forces stationed on the Thara front and the Houthi militia stationed in the heights of the Thara mountains on the other hand. They explained that the forces stationed on the Thara front destroyed a number of Houthi militia sniper sites in Ras Aqaba with mortar shells. Citizens in Adala celebrate Eid al-Adha despite the situation of the country. This report has more details.
The war in Yemen did not stop Yemenis from celebrating Eid al-Adha. Children were given sweets and people performed Eid prayer, in addition to visiting family and relatives.
During Eid, we buy ja'ala, which is sweets. We give children these sweets and we make the sheep sacrifice for Eid al-Adha. Despite the situation of the country, we try to enjoy and celebrate the occasion.
There are other ancient customs and traditions that are still practiced in some areas of Al-Dala Governorate during Eid al-Adha. People visit their relatives or family and gather with friends.
In Eid, we have many traditions like visiting family and relatives. We also gather with friends. During Eid al-Adha, I visited my family and friends. The conflict in Yemen and hard living conditions haven't stopped us from celebrating Eid.
Despite the conditions of war and economic deterioration, the people of Ad-Dala received Eid al-Adha with joy and festive rituals that they used to practice on such an occasion.
Healthy planted landmines risk the lives of many Yemenis, including women and children. This report gives more details.
A Yemeni news agency reported the removal of more than 880 landmines in the third week of June. Since its inception in 2018, the Saudi project for landmine clearance, Massam, has been successful in removing more than 400,000 landmines. Massam seeks to remove all landmines and explosives in Yemen by collaborating with government demining teams. The project aims to make the local communities less vulnerable to the country's armed conflict. The war that began in Yemen in 2014 has led to the spread of landmines and explosive devices. According to Yemen's demining experts, over 1 million landmines have been planted since the war erupted, underlining the crucial need for continuous clearance operations. Landmines and explosives pose a serious threat to the lives of civilians, specifically children. According to a United Nations study in 2021, about 10,000 children were either killed or injured as a result of the conflict in Yemen, and a large number of them were landmine victims. Children continue to be the major victims of mines laid randomly in Yemeni residential areas by Houthi terrorist militia supported by Iran. Explosive ordnance pose a threat to life, restricts movements, and prevents access to lands, and most importantly, instills a sense of fear and insecurity. Yemen has been suffering from landmines planted by Houthis over the past years. The country's situation is extremely dreadful. The conflict parties must prioritize the safety of children and ensure that they are no longer at risk from landmines or other explosive devices.
Coming next. The burden to striking Yemeni drama discussing abortion.
من بداية الحرب ارتفع سعر المواشي وارتفع سعر الأعلاف. القونية البرعان ب50,000، يلا نشتري نص قونية. بالنسبة لنا الرعاة عندنا يعني نفكر بالأعلاف، هذا اللي نفكر به. اليوم أجا منظمات الفاو وأعطيتنا احنا 3 جواني أعلاف و3 قوالب ملحية. نستفيد من الأعلاف غذاء للمواشي حافظا على صحة الأغنام، والقوالب الملحية فاتحة للشهية. الذي استلمته اليوم فيساعدنا في حياتي معيشتي اقتصادية مع الأسرة، يعني بدل ما اشتري الأعلاف اشتري للجهال.
Welcome back. The Haris Desert is one that rises in popularity with the dawn of every Eid. This year, however, ingredients are limiting owing to the difficult conditions the country is experiencing. This report has more details.
Haris manufacture has been practiced largely by the youth of Al Qubaita area in Lahj Governorate for decades. Haroon Al Qubati, a young man in his 30s, spends his day creating delicious sweets in his modest shop in the heart of the Shukaira Center. As Eid approaches, the treat grows more popular and dessert makers rush to meet the increase in demand.
We have inherited the recipe of this dessert through generations. We have made a business for ourselves and are working to develop our trade. Demand and production increase during the Eid holidays and during wedding ceremonies, when people give these treats to friends and families.
This Coptic mash dessert has trickled down through generations and undergoes numerous stages of development before its appearance behind display counters. In recent years, however, production has grown limited due to decreased demand.
Among the challenges we face is the shortage of ingredients. A lot of people frequent this store to purchase haris for the Eid holidays.
This sugary treat is widely consumed by people of all ages and is an integral part of Yemeni Eid celebrations.
Rashad Al Alimi laid the cornerstone of a number of development, service and tourism projects in the city of Mukalla. The president of the Presidential Leadership Council laid the foundation stone for the second phase project of Khor Mukalla with a total area of 325,000 square meters. The president listened to an explanation from the Director General of the Office of Public Works and Roads on the coast of Hadramaut about the components of the project. On the sidelines of his participation in the London conference, Prime Minister Ma'in Abdul Malik met with the British Minister of State for Middle East Affairs. They reviewed developments in the general situation and bilateral relations between the two countries and the role of Britain to ensure stability factors in Yemen, especially the national economy, the coherence and effectiveness of state institutions, and the steadfastness of the private sector was also discussed. The National Meteorological Center in Yemen expected cloudy weather with rain of varying intensity during the next 24 hours. The center said that this weather is expected on the mountainous heights and may be accompanied by thunder in the governorates of Al Mahra and Hadramaut, while the weather is expected to be in the coastal areas clear to partly cloudy and hot with high humidity. The Burden drama is one of the rare features produced in the Middle Eastern country about an Aden family facing the consequences of the civil war and an unexpected pregnancy. This report has more details.
Watching a feature film produced in Yemen is certainly a rarity these days. Amr Gamal's sophomore film, titled The Burden, is one of the few. A Yemeni-Sudanese Saudi co-production world premiered in the Panorama Strand of the year's Berlin International Film Festival. The drama is set to take part in a few more gatherings around the world. Before embarking on the making of The Burden, Gamal directed 10 days before the wedding feature, which is the Yemeni entry for the Best Foreign Language Film at the 2019 Academy Awards. In it, a number of obstacles stand in the way of a young couple, as only 10 days are left before their wedding, and each obstacle is in one way or another caused by the aftermath of the war. 10 days before the wedding was also the first picture to release commercially in Yemen after a 3-decade absence of cinema in the country. While the story of the burden revolves around Isra and her husband Ahmed, who live in the old port city of Aden in the southern part of the country. Since 2014, their existence are shaped by the consequences of the ongoing civil war, and with sincerity and great realism, Gamal reminded us about the conflict by showing military checks in the streets and frequent power cuts affecting public buildings and private households, among other details. The family's economic status is already hinted at by the first scene set in a market, during which we see Ahmed and Isra paying 2,300 Yemeni riyals for a kilo of potatoes, based on true events which took place around 2019 and enriched by the presence of understated acting performances. The burden offers the international audience a good snapshot of what it's like living in Aden today and how religious conservatism can make people's lives unbearable.
This is Yemen, beyond the headlines. The Hurricane Theater in Yemen was a cultural confluence for decades. Located in Crater District, the lively, multicultural, and commercial heart of Aden, the Hurricane Theater opened in the 1930s to host plays. Eventually, it screened movies, becoming the first cinema theater in Aden and the entire Arabian Peninsula, making Aden an influential leader of cinema culture in the region throughout the 20th century.
عربي هندي جميع الافلام كانت هنا كان زحمه على السينما هذه يعني بلا قياس كانوا بشر حريم ورجال عوائل يدخلوا كانوا يجلسوا من الساعه 3 4 برا لما نفتح البوابه يدخلوا يتضاربوا على التيكيت.
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Yemeni government urges international community to support with debts. Citizens in Adala celebrate Eid despite hard living conditions. Massam project says landmines clearance witnesses significant progress. This is the end of the news. It was Roshan Fouad. Thank you for watching.